And we're live. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Webb. I am Neptune Theatre's artistic director. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, it's actually not a pleasure to be here in my basement that I've dressed up to look like as my office. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be here anywhere. And it's a pleasure to be with you. Off the Leash is Neptune's way of staying in touch with our audience, with our subscribers, with our friends and colleagues around the province, the city, the country, wherever. And we've been getting together. I actually don't know how many weeks it is exactly now. It's kind of got blurry, but I know that this is show number 39. And oh boy, that sounds weird. When we first started, we thought it'd be just a week or so. And who knew? Who knew that we'd still be here? It seems that we are now on 7 days in Nova Scotia without a new case of COVID-19. And that is amazing. I'm hoping that everyone is remaining vigilant. I wish I could say that I'd seen everyone around the city being as vigilant as they were a month ago, but fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Tonight, we are taking a little trip down memory lane as I bring in a couple of my favorite people in the world, a couple of Nova Scotian actors who are so talented and so wonderful and so fun. And I thought it'd be fun. A few weeks ago when we booked them, I thought it'd be fun to just chat about a play that we all worked on together a few years ago before I was at Neptune, and that still occasionally gets produced today. And also just to talk about what else they've been up to, what else they're doing in their careers. They are Karen Bassett and Francine Deschepper. If you have worked in theatre in Nova Scotia, you will know these two. And if you have been at Neptune in the audience in recent times, you will also, I'm sure, know them. So without further ado, let's bring them in. I don't have any playing music. I don't have a fanfare. I just have this button to press. Francine Deschepper and Karen Bassett, let's make you shaped like that. There we go. Welcome.
Hello.
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 So good to be here.
It's good to see you.
Oh, it's
good to see you both.
Too.
That's the most vibrant wall of blue I've ever seen. Is that like a wall in your house, or have you got a blue screen going on?
This is a tablecloth that I drape across my living room when I have an audition, and I had an audition to put on tape earlier today, so this one up, and I thought I may as well leave that because then you can't see my dirty dining room behind me.
Very clever.
So,
it looks so solid and flat. Karen, how are you? I actually can't help but notice that you appear to have dressed part of your house in the style of the play that we're going to be talking about that we haven't mentioned yet, but
I have.
What do you always live like that?
I'm coming to you from the Heroine Museum, which is located in the bustling North End. I do have to give my daughter Simone credit because she set up lights and did some of the set deck, but have a whole bunch of fun stuff from when we did the show together several times. So it was nice to haul it out, although I will admit moving those crates brought back some not that pleasant memories.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second about the show and about the physicality of it and the memories, good and bad, from you guys doing the show. So the play was called and is still called Heroine. Karen, do you want to just give us a little elevator pitch on what the show is about, and then we'll talk about what happened with you guys in it?
Sure. So it's a play set in 1722 in the golden age of piracy, and it's based on the lives of two real-life remarkable women, Anne Bonny and Mary Read, who led very opposite lives until they were connected via piracy on a vessel which was overtaken by the British government, and they were imprisoned and charged with mail impersonation. Well, in Mary Read's case, murder, piracy, et cetera, and they were both sentenced to hang. So the play is about how they deal with one another in a confined space and awaiting their execution.
Right. And how did that come to you?
Well, my philosophy is always a no, it means a yes to something else. So I was very passionate at this is going back into 2007. I really wanted to learn to be a fight director, and I had never done any real stage combat myself except a few classes. And so I knew in order to become a fight director, I wanted the experience of doing a whole bunch of different fighting in a performance, so I would be able to relate to that from the other side of it. And I couldn't find any plays that featured fighting roles for women. So that no led me to the yes of, well, I'll just write one myself. So that's what I did.
That's what you did. And then at various points in the play's inception and creation and process and life, we all got involved. Francine, how did you first become involved in Heroine? Did you audition for it? Were you approached to be in it? How did that come about? I don't think I know this.
Karen can probably back me up on this, but I think actually my husband may have gotten me this job. He had heard about it first and insisted to Karen that, being, you know, the tough sort of New Waterford girl I was, that I would be good for the role of Anne Bonny, the crazy piratess killer. And then did I audition, Karen? I think I must have. I must have auditioned.
No.
I had done 0 stage combat.
No,
I didn't audition. No.
No.
He
and what's
talked me into the role.
What's awesome about that is it was Josh, and I didn't have like a word of dialogue written. I just had a basic synopsis plot that we shared at a Playwrights Atlantic resource gathering, and I said, this is the play I'm planning to write, and these are the 2 characters. And then Josh was there, and he came up afterwards and said, you know who would be perfect for that role? My wife, Francine. I said, tell her to call me. That was about it.
So
really, he's just always trying to get a paycheck in the family somehow. So
absolutely, and I hope you gave him 10%, Francine.
Oh, I think 5 maybe, but yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I've got a couple of very short video clips of the show. So this will be a little reminisce for you two. I don't know if you've seen this for a long time, because this was I'm looking at, there's a poster actually on my wall. When I was involved in it, we did it in 2015. So, oh my goodness, is that 5 years ago? Wow. Okay, so here, let's take a little look and see the beginning of a little demo video we made all those years ago.
And so gay, I said, my lovely fair maid, I soon must leave this shore to cross the briny ocean in a British man of war.
Stupid whores! You want to kill someone? Kill each other!
There's a bell should be.
That's such a good button.
I know. I must admit, when I sliced up the little demo video this afternoon or this morning, and I thought, when do I cut it? Oh,
on the burn.
When.
Yeah,
what was very interesting there was, that play could not be rehearsed or performed right now, primarily because of the hand.
All of it.
All of it. There was a lot of closeness.
Yeah.
A lot of saliva.
Yeah.
A lot of saliva flying around.
We basically did everything except lick each other, I think. Everything else was, yeah.
I may have licked you.
I think that was the licking.
I think I did.
Yeah. The K-Bass popsicle took a licking. Let me ask, because what was really apparent in that clip as well was the physicality of the show. Mm-hmm. So, Francine, what was it like rehearsing a show that was, as Karen said, written to give her a stage combat vehicle, or to create a stage combat vehicle for women, as well as being a cool story? But then that looked tough. Like, my 52-year-old body was aching just looking at it. So Does it bring back memories?
Yes, it brings back memories of bruises.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I mean, I loved every minute of it. It was great, but it really was a workout. And I had a bruise on my left butt cheek that was like the size of my head and black, and lots of scratches, bruises in other places as well. We were padded. We wore these really wicked volleyball knee pads and wrist pads. So they're very thin and can be hidden under your clothes, and they're really flexible, which is great. But we were quite beat up and exhausted by the time the show ended and sweaty. We were also very dirty. I did not wear shoes in the play, and I think that's just because no one can find shoes to fit me. So eventually, like, make her go in bare feet. And yeah, we would spend Karen, maybe like at least a half an hour scrubbing dirt and makeup after the show.
And on.
Yeah. And
on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Francine was particularly proud of, I don't know how many people could see it, but she figured out, so that the first thing that you saw in the video is the first moment of the play that we get thrown in jail and roll over those crates. And she would take red lipstick and she would kind of stick it up her nose. So she had this like, as if she had a nosebleed, blood and dried. And she'd say, "Look at it. How's it look? How's it look?"
That's great.
Is it red enough? A little more brown?
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I remember when I was involved in the show, spreading out all the straw and the stuff all over the floor, but being really careful because of your bare feet to make sure there was nothing in there that was going to stab Francine Deschepper in the feet.
Like little
Yeah.
holes and rocks in the straw. Yeah, we'd have to pick them out.
So, Karen, tell me about the original production. Who directed the show? I mean, I know, but tell us, who directed the show?
So it was Robert Seal, who's been a great supporter of my journey towards being a fight director. And he was actually involved from the very beginning, like long before, when I was in the writing process, years before. So I started writing it in 2007. I think we did some workshops with him, Francine and I did, in 2008. And it was because I literally left sections of the play blank because I wanted to create fights with Robert and then match the dialogue that would come out of those fights. So it was an interesting process. Instead of adding a fight on to dialogue, it was like, well, what would they be saying when this was going on? So it was quite a rich relationship. So he was the director. Andrew Ritchie did the costumes, which you can see.
Yes.
So, yeah. Lisa St. Clair did sound design. Suzanne Hudson helped out with set and did the lighting design. And Theophany Patsavas built these lovely, lovely boxes that we threw our bodies around on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Amazing. Great. I know that we had a lot of fun. We took the show, when I became involved, out to Vancouver for a week.
Mm-hmm.
Francine, what was it like getting on the road with this one?
It was pretty exciting to take it on the road, to show someone on the other side of the country the work that we put into it. It was an unusual festival. Jeremy found us a wonderful place to stay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had very appreciative audiences when they saw it, but we also had a couple of shows where not a lot of people showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe two or one show. Not the first time I did this show for two people. I think the first preview we did in Antigonish, when we took it to Festival Antigonish, we also had two people in the audience.
Wow.
Which is not a reflection of your greatness, by the way.
Thank you, Karen. Nor yours. Yeah, it's just such a fun show to do. And when we brought it back around and did it in the Neptune studio with Willpower, I think it was under Willpower, is that right?
Yep.
I sent an email out, which I never do. I'm not on social media. Karen's not either. I sent an email out to, I think, every contact I had and said, like, this is your last chance. Come and see this show, because Karen has written such a brilliant play. It is funny. It is, it's showing women fighting and sword fighting, which you're not going to see very much. And it's so relevant and feminist and just such a fun time. You have to see it. And I think it really made a difference. I think a lot of people did come out to see it that time around, which was maybe the third production we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember, I'm going to out you a little here, Francine. I remember talking to you about maybe doing it again at some point in the future. Can you remember what you said to me?
Yes, and I have a slightly different take on this.
Okay.
But you and I were meeting for lunch or drink or something at La Frasca.
Oh, you know the location. Wow.
I do. I remember well. And you had said that you were interested in doing Heroine again, and would I, be willing to do the show one more time with Karen here in Halifax? And I said I would, and I said also, in addition to that, I understand that Willpower is also doing a show upcoming, a five-hander Mackers, the Scottish play that Ken Schwartz is directing. And though you call it an ultimatum, I like to think of it more of a sweeten the pot. So yeah, I think my response was I'd be happy to do Heroine again. And to what would really sweeten the pot, Jeremy Webb, I got to play Lady M opposite you. And I think that we would be a really good team together and have great chemistry and knock it out of the park. So let's see if we can make that happen.
Right. And I might have lied to you and said, sure, I'm sure that can happen. I don't know.
I think you did, without asking the director.
Yeah, and then I went to Ken and said, look, it's your choice. I have not, because I had nothing to do with the casting. So happily, he wanted to see you. And then, we ended up looking like this for a photo shoot one day.
Yeah.
Ah.
Look. Wow.
I was merely taking a page out of my husband's book, which is, if opportunity knocks, push yourself in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did. Let's watch another little few seconds of the show here, just to sort of get us in the mood and keep us going. Here we go.
Must you sit like that? Why? Does it bother you? Yes. If you're going to wear a dress, act like a lady. Oh, I don't know how. Will you teach me? I know you come from high Irish breeding. Makes me sound like a setter. Here, try it on. Don't think of it as a dress. Think of it as a weapon.
Why, I do believe the temperature's growing a little warm, don't you, sir?
Then I can hang you with it. Oh, ow, oh! When I hang, it won't be by your hand. At ease, soldier. I wouldn't hang you. The rope is like a snake. Squeezing. Leisurely. Squeezing the air out. No. I'm your friend. I just give you one swift thrust home. Reed, was that a laugh? You wouldn't get the chance.
I like watching these little clips. It brings back so many memories of watching you sweat your butts off doing this show.
Oh my God. And honestly, part of it for me was they're the odd couple in a general sense, right? So I'm stoic, she's stylized. I'm a patriot, she's a pirate. I'm conscience, she's cunning, back forth. But Francine, of course, I'm more of the stoic phase. And Francine would she just took that character and she really made me work not to laugh all the time.
It's not hard, Karen. It's not hard to make you laugh.
A few people are sending messages, posting messages here. Christine is watching. Michelle, hello, Michelle. Like she's at dressing. And look, Natasha McClellan is watching. Artistic producer of Theatre New Brunswick, who apparently were rehearsing a production of this. I understand. I think just before, as it went down, as things went down. So that's unfortunate.
2 days before they opened, the province closed. Yeah.
I hope we get to see that.
Yeah.
So Karen, the fighting aspect for you, you got to do this play and you've continued to work on Wait a second. I've just got interrupted by a message here, which I have to bring up. Otherwise, it'll just bug me. Hey, Fran, when can I finish the dishes? Finish the dishes at 9:15, 9:30. Okay, wow.
9:30.
Can he not do anything without asking first, Francine?
He's afraid of me at this point.
Yeah.
I told him to be.
Yes, good. So let's talk, Karen, a little bit about the violence that you create in theater. I've had the good fortune of having you come to Neptune. What is that like, coming into a show that you're involved in purely as a fight director? How does that process work for you?
I absolutely love it because I love the collaboration of it. So I come in with a certain set of skills that, you know, the director maybe doesn't have, that the actors, and I try to assess like how much skill do they have. And so I always come in with a plan, but what's always delightful and exciting for me is having to adapt the plan. So you find out that an actor, you know, a certain maneuver doesn't work for them that you had planned, or the director says, oh, I actually imagined this being a little less rough and a little more subtle. And you go, okay, we can adapt. We can take it down by a certain percentage. Or conversely. So I love the collaborative negotiating part of that, and just problem solving, right? How are we going to do it? How are we going to do it?
Yeah.
And the imagination beforehand, like my mind's always going, what's possible? What could we do? What could we try? What could we, of course, with the safety things as the basis of all that. But that's why I love found object fighting. It's like, well, what could we do with a garbage can lid? What can't we do? And
right.
I know I'm a nerd.
Well, you know, I've appreciated your nerdiness many times. That's why we're like having you at Neptune. But tell me a little bit about the found object fight you created a couple of years back for Shakespeare in Love. That was like at an extreme. We may have seen. I don't know if this is part of that fight.
Yes, that's the end of it.
Yeah,
that's the end of it. So I had this idea for that fight, for it to be sort of a Jackie Chan as Will Shakespeare is being attacked. He's going through the crowd and he's grabbing things from people in the crowd to try and defend himself.
Right.
So it was everything from a bouquet of flowers to a book. And I remember coming into your office actually when I was planning this, and with Andrew Cull, who is the props excellent, I went and talked to him about what was possible, what did we have in props, and what could we acquire. And I remember going into your office and saying to you, okay, so I have this idea for a found object fight, and it goes through this, 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 and this. And then the last thing is a baby. And you just looked at me and you're like, okay, I'll take a look at it.
I've tried to make it a habit since being put into this position of learning to not say no, right? You know, we often say no, and, you know, like, no, I've got a better idea. But I'm like, yes. And I think I learned that doing improv with you all those years ago. But I must admit, you kind of pushed the boundary there right up to opening night. Because it looked like...
Wasn't the baby a prop, like in the play within the play?
Yeah, but it looked like a baby.
Well,
it looked like a baby,
in the fight, it was meant to appear. So Shakespeare's going through the crowd, grabbing all these things. And then inadvertently, he grabs something, not realizing it's a baby. And then the mother screams and everybody screams, and he tosses the baby back, tosses it in the air. But at the end of the whole sequence, another one of the characters takes it and throws it in the props basket. So that's when you know it was never
a real baby.
Yeah.
Or they've just been like highly irresponsible with the baby.
Yeah.
Throwing through the process.
Don't put your baby on the stage, Mrs. Worthington. It won't end well. It was interesting. I'm glad Natasha's watching because, you know, I wonder, have you seen Karen, you've seen the show done elsewhere by people.
I have.
You've not been involved. That was in Edmonton, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Francine, have you ever seen the play that you originated the role of, done by anyone else?
Never, and I'm dying to. And I would have gone to see it in New Brunswick had COVID not happened. But we were running Calendar Girls at exactly the same time. So
Oh, that's right.
even if COVID hadn't happened, I still would not have gotten a chance to
No.
see it. But now maybe I will.
I'll tell you what. Let's ask the people that are at this point in limbo what they felt about rehearsing the play. Let's welcome to the live stream, a little surprise, Abby Page and Melanie LeBlanc, who are current versions of you. Hi, you two.
Awesome.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's good to see you. Now, I should say that because you are surprise guests, we didn't get to do any technical talk beforehand, but I can see you and I can hear you both. So well done.
Wonderful.
All the technology is working. Good to see you. Now, it's great to see you. You're in New Brunswick. How are you holding up?
Fine.
You doing okay?
Yeah, one day at a time.
We've gotten over the rough spots so far.
Yeah. And yeah, so just elaborate for us. So yeah, you were 2 days away from opening. Where were you in the process?
We did our the tech run. I think that's as far as we got.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. I've actually got one of the folks at TNB were very kind enough to send me a couple of photos. I don't think Karen and Francine would have seen these yet. There's some rehearsal shots. Looks familiar. Look at that.
Love it.
She's fierce.
And then I found seeing this one really cool and really kind of strange because it's like, oh, it looks like, but it's not. So there we go. Karen, were you involved in this production in any way? Were you around for them, or did you?
I did go up at the end of January. So I went to Fredericton because I'm working on writing another play, and I wanted to sequester myself. And I thought it would be great to go up and introduce myself to them. And we spent I taught them a couple songs because I have in the play there are lyrics, but no tunes because we made the tunes up.
Right.
So I taught them the tunes, but then had maybe an hour or so conversation just to answer questions about where some of because there's a lot of history in the play, and all the research to do that isn't necessary for the actors to read, but there would be things that if you didn't know where they came from, then you would be like, what is that about?
Yeah.
So I answered those questions. I watched them in rehearsal for a little bit and it was great. Yeah.
And I may be totally wrong, but were you doing a French version as well as an English version, or just the English version? Is there a French version? That's just an idea that I had right
There
now.
should be.
Natasha, get on that.
Let's do it.
I popped into my head. I thought I remembered that, but I'm obviously wrong. What was it like for you? Did you either of you two, Melanie or Abby, see a production of this before? Had you seen it?
No.
So it was literally getting the script and going, oh, okay. And did you audition for the show?
I didn't audition specifically for the show.
Right, but for the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Bruises? Do you have bruises?
I've had a lot of bruises.
They've healed now. Yeah, they've healed.
Yes. Yeah. I think Abby had one larger arm than the other.
Yes, when my saber arm was really built, it's gone back to its original spaghetti-like shape now, but it was quite buff a couple of months ago.
Awesome. And what have you been told so far? It's probably an unfair question, but is there hope for the show to be seen, or what can you tell us, if anything? I mean,
well, I think there is hope. There's nothing concrete, but I think if ever it becomes possible, I don't know.
Yeah, the idea of taking it all the way to tech was that the show was completely built.
Right.
So all the decisions had been made. It was ready. I think the next night we were supposed to have a preview audience.
Yeah.
So so that was a very weird. It
was such a weird tech.
But yeah, we've been told 2021 is our year.
Right. Yeah, that's everyone's year now.
Yes.
That's next year. Francine or Karen, any words of wisdom or advice for surviving this play, Heroine?
Well, for Abby, I would say, because the weapons each character use are quite different. They're both swords, but One is a curved blade, a saber blade, and that's what Mary Read, Abby's character, uses. And then Anne Bonny, Melanie's character, uses a very, very light weapon. So I would say until 2021, Abby, keep squeezing that tennis ball. Just keep squeezing that tennis ball. Eat your spinach. Keep that Popeye arm alive.
That's good advice.
Fine.
Yeah, we'll check in with Abby in 6 months' time, and she'll be like Arnold Schwarzenegger on one side.
Yeah.
Francine, anything you want to add to them before we let them go back to their lives after this wonderful quick visit?
Be careful not to stab your co-actor in the hand with a dagger. That's very important. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, that is important.
Yeah, and if you're not wearing shoes, which I don't know, were you wearing shoes?
No, I wasn't.
No shoes for you either. Yeah,
Yeah.
just watch out for the boot heels on the
Yeah.
on the other actor's feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Sounds dangerous. I'm so glad I don't act anymore. It's so nice of you to pop by and say hi.
I hope you get to do it.
Yeah.
I'm dying to see it.
We all do. I mean, actually now, Francine, the only saving grace here is that you won't be doing Calendar Girls at the same time. So now you could get to go see it. So that's good.
Yeah.
We'll check your schedule.
So from all of us at Neptune, we send our love to our friends and colleagues at Theatre New Brunswick at this time. And if you are watching in New Brunswick, get in touch with them, talk to Natasha, and see what you can do for TNB right now when you are able to help them survive the devastating effect financially that I'm sure they're having too because of this pandemic. So if you love theater and you are in New Brunswick, or even if you're here and you love TNB, then drop them a line so that Melanie and Abby can get on stage with this play soon. Thanks for being here, you two. I'm going to throw you out of the live stream.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Nice to see you all.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Take care. And let me just press the right button. There we go. Well, that was nice.
Yeah. You said there were no surprise guests.
Jeremy, do you actually remember when Francine stabbed me in the hand?
I remember it very well because it was actually shooting that video that we saw earlier. It scared the bejesus out of me. Just tell the story. What happened?
Oh, someone said, let's change it up a little. The fight choreography we'd been doing for 5 years. It's funnier if there's 3 moves instead of 2. Like,
who said that?
It's not. Oh, some guy that was watching us and maybe, interviewing us right now. Like, 2's not funny. Do it 3 times. Like, okay. And so that's what we did. You showed the clip actually in the first little bit that you showed. Yeah. It's we're fighting over a bandage, and I stick the dagger down into the bandage and say, I'll fight you for it. And there were 3 faults, like fake out moves. There were 2 originally, and then someone said add a 3rd, so we did, and lo and behold. Do you still have a scar, Karen? It's right there.
Yeah, it's right in my thumb. It's a nice triangular scar. And when I was learning about why, in the history of swords, why Anne Bonny's sword, the light one and small one, became the better blade, the better winner of a duel, part of the reason was that it was triangular and that it was hard for surgeons to close triangular wounds. Right. So if you think about stitching, like how hard that would be to pull that together. And then, I mean, it only went in like that far in hip bone. Right. But it had this beautiful little V shape. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And hard to sew that up.
Interesting piece of trivia. She didn't bleed, which I was
kind
of proved my theory that maybe Karen Bassett's a vampire, but.
Or at least an alien from another planet.
Or maybe an alien. Yeah.
I want to watch the final little short video clip in a second. When we come back in this video clip, I also want to just touch base on the other work you're doing in our community. Francine, you are on branch and national council of ACTRA still, right?
Yeah,
Did I get that right? Yeah. And Karen, you're on council of the Canadian Actors Equity Association. So have a little think about that. Not that you need to think about it, but while we watch this final little video clip.
It obviously takes two pirates to run those organizations, right?
I think the sword play alone is becoming useful. If only, actually, you know what? I'll show this first. If only because then when you're asking a certain prime minister to extend the SERB, you can do it like this. So there he is fighting. That's you there, Karen, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, and you're teaching him to why is he attacking you with a sword?
So this is a great example of Kay Bassett always goes for what she wants. And so I was teaching at a theater camp at Alderney Landing in Dartmouth, and Justin Trudeau was not yet the prime minister. He was campaigning to be the Liberal leader.
Right.
And as you know, he used to be a drama teacher. So he wanted to come by and say this inspiring thing to the kids. He's also a super accomplished fencer. So I said, so they asked permission to come in to the thing. And I said, well, if I get to fight him, he can come. So they said, okay.
I wonder what would happen now. Pot. Yeah. What would happen now?
Yeah, he came, he pulled up his sleeves, and is. I lost. He's very charismatic. I got lost in that gaze. That was fun.
Oh my god!
Oh no! Oh well. Let's watch the final little clip of Heroine before we talk about a few other things, and then let you go. Hold on.
Fearless at 15. And to this day, nobody gets the better of me. I'm not afraid of you. Well, you should be. Ow! Oh! That's the spirit. You're a woman. Lie for me, and I may be true to your story. Or kill me, and be known as only one thing. The mad woman pirate who murdered Anne Bonny. A wish to sail away.
Shut up down there!
You shut up, Philistine! I said I wouldn't see you suffer. I'd give you one swift thrust home. Read. That's the spirit.
That's the spirit. That video was shot as a promo video to try and persuade theaters to book the show. And I got to admit, it was one of the most fun days I've had getting to direct you two and to play. Actually, we shot it in the Neptune studio before I was the AD. I don't know whether we stole the place or rented the place. I can't remember. I think I rented it. Yeah. And that's right. Yeah, because we got some funding for that. And then we
Kelsey had his steady cam.
Kelsey with his steady cam, and then we shot that thing for hours and hours, and cut it down to about 5 or 6 minutes, I think. So it's like shooting a little movie. And who knows? Maybe we'll have to do it all again so that we can just air it. So. There we go. So tell me, you've both been very active for our acting unions in our country and in our province. Thank you both for that. I really appreciate it. Can you tell me what the unions are up to in these difficult times? What's going on? Karen, do you want to go first? What's Equity up to these days?
A lot of damage control, a lot of proactive government advocacy, a lot of membership meetings to try to inform the membership about what they are doing, about providing resources, because live performance in particular, not to exclude recorded performance, but live performance will be one of the most difficult things to bring back before there's a vaccine.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to support members, to give them information, to be advocating for them. My thing is like, so I've been a counselor. This is my second term. It's a 3-year term. I stayed on for my second term because I was involved in committees where the work hadn't been completed and I wanted to see it brought to completion. But I take a very personal approach to being a counselor because I love my membership. I admire the people that work in the Atlantic. And so, you know, the moment everything was canceled on March 13th, I just started calling people for my membership. And I've kept up on those calls, and people are so inspiring. You know, they're always saying that somebody else has it worse, but they really just want to talk. And so I encourage anyone, any artist on this call who knows another person in this industry who's been affected to just pick up the phone and call them and just have a conversation. And it's very meaningful to people if you do that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I think it's definitely true that whilst this pandemic up to this point has been devastating for many industries, the knowledge that the industry that we work in will be probably one of the last to recover, that the artists that we turn to in times like this to entertain us and to keep us sane are going to be the hardest hit. So it was good to see the CERB being extended today. And I know that both unions were advocating for that, and you know, really on our MPs. And I know a lot of artists that will be watching this also wrote letters to their MPs. I was fortunate enough to have a chance to have a face-to-face conversation with Andy Fillmore, our MP, a few weeks ago, and just called him on it straight, and he was very receptive and, you know, and really understood the situation. Francine, what about you? What's ACTRA up to these days? Because film and TV looks like it might fire up. It already is firing up in some places a little sooner. How is it here locally right now?
Locally, it looks as if we're trying to push ahead. Nova Scotia, interestingly, was one of the provinces across Canada that was film and television was not one of the businesses mandated to shut down. Although, as you can imagine, with the regulations and social distancing measures and things like that, it was impossible to be on a film set. But nationally and locally right now, we are in talks with all of sort of the industry partners, the different unions and the producers, and coming up with lists for best practices in terms of health and safety once we do get back on film sets. It will vary province to province because it's going to depend on how soon provinces are reopening and what stages they are in terms of their reopening. Manitoba, for instance, is already back to work. They're filming. I think they opened up 2 weeks ago. Montreal is opening, might be open by now as I'm saying this. So I know there are a number of local films that were due to shoot either last fall or early this spring that were postponed, and they're hoping to get those up and running as early as next month, as early as July. We, as you say, have been doing a lot of advocacy work nationally with getting the CERB extended, and very pleased to see that happen today. Even if film and television does come back, the restrictions and the cost of doing film business, we're hearing anything from 15 to 30% more money just to do the safety measures, things like things you wouldn't even really think of, but you have to stagger lunch hours because you can't have 150 people eating lunch at the same time in the same lunch hall. So they have to stagger lunch hours at any given time. 30% of your crew won't be on the floor. They have to quarantine any actors or crew or directors coming from out of town would have to quarantine for the 14 days, probably in a hotel room altogether before you can even shoot. So that's paying people to be holdover days in hotels, The insurance implications right now are the biggest thing because no one is going to insure you against catching COVID-19 on film set ever again.
Right.
So, there's lots of financial implications, but we're hopeful that we can, push ahead and put in all the safety measures. I know, locally, I know Shelley Thompson, who you all know is anxious to get back with her feature. Juanita Peters, I think, is anxious to get hers underway. It was supposed to shoot pretty much exactly when everything got shut down in March.
Wow.
So we're hopeful. In terms of the big productions, service productions coming from the States, that will have to depend on whether or not they open the American borders. So we'll see how that goes. We're thinking maybe worst case scenario next year, 2021, similar to theater. Maybe best case scenario, we see a few big service productions come in the fall, October or November. And I want to thank everyone who did write to their MPs to get the CERB extended, because it really is a lifesaver for all of us that work in the arts, not just in live performance and film, but musicians, visual artists. And what else is happening? We had an AGM recently. We had a great turnout. Lots of people had questions, of course. So that was good to see. Mm-hmm. And, as David Sparrow, who's our national president, says, people have pretty much watched everything there is to watch on Netflix in the last 3 months. So I think people are going to be really keen for new content. So if there's a silver lining for film and TV, that's it. People will want more entertainment.
Yeah, it's true.
Fingers crossed.
Netflix has been sucked dry.
Oh, yeah.
I know this because I've even started watching all the behind-the-scenes features on The Mandalorian on Disney, just to see every single frame I can of something new. Speaking of Star Wars, your husband has sent another message. He wants to make sure that before the show is over, Josh wants you to show him your action figure.
Yeah.
Show me your action figure.
This side.
That's great.
This is my Anne Bonny action figure. She comes with a removable cutlass, an axe, and 2 pistols. And Karen Bassett bought this for me in South Carolina, Karen, I think.
I don't exactly remember, actually.
This is a line from our play.
Yeah.
You have to say it.
Fought like a man,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to die like a dog. And I love this. I have 2 action figures. My husband has lots. I have 2. I have Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I have Anne Bonny.
Yeah, but Josh doesn't have an action figure that is actually a character that he plays.
Well,
or does he?
Maybe not for you.
Oh.
That's all I'm going to say.
Don't even.
Why isn't anyone drinking? I was waiting for someone to raise a glass.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Well, look, on that note,
cheers.
On that note, it's cheers. Great to see you. On that note, we should start to wrap things up. It's been lovely to have you here. I just want to make sure that I also acknowledge the fact that, since this play, Francine, you joined us at Neptune for Little Thing, Big Thing that we originally did in Antigonish. There you are with the slightly concussed Gordon Gammy.
Right.
And
he's good now, by the way.
He's totally good. Yeah, he's back to whatever normal is for him. For him. And Karen, another play that we worked on together. I just have a photo here. I just want to show this. This was Lullaby. Sorry that we're covering your face up right now, Karen, but that's Morley Austin, Lisa Nason, and Troy Adams. A play about the Halifax explosion that you created.
Nice.
And also, there you are with Bill Carr, holding your own with Bill Carr in Noises Off.
Oh my God, that's me.
That's you right there.
I forgot how bad that character's posture was, but now I see it.
It was all acting. It was all acting. It's been lovely to see you. Lovely to connect with you. Thanks for coming in, and also thanks for the little update about what the unions are up to for your members. That's really great to hear as well. and I hope to see you in person really soon. So that, you know, when we can have a bigger bubble, we can have some kind of gathering. But I really want to thank you for being here. I just want to check the comments before I go. Josh McDonald is drinking now. This is good. Natasha McCullen is drinking. Stuart, apparently you've turned everyone to drink, or maybe
we're the only ones that aren't.
Yeah, we're the only ones that aren't. Yeah, Veronique and Stuart's even showing what he's drinking. This is good. Okay, and Amanda misses seeing you in real life as well. So awesome! It's great to see you. You two just sit right there and don't go. Josh just always has to hop in for the last line there, which I love. So I just want to mention that on Friday this week, we are joined for a one-on-one conversation with the amazing Deanna Choi, who I had the wonderful fortune to have at Neptune doing the sound design for Cinderella. Possibly the craziest, zaniest sound design I've ever asked someone to come up with. And she just nailed it. And we're going to be playing a few sound cues and having some fun talking about what she's been up to. Also, she was scheduled to be here right now, or she would have been here doing Billy Elliot. She's one of those people that once you work with them once, you just want to keep having them back at your theater. Tomorrow night, because we have just announced at Neptune that the theater school is running summer classes, we have the province's permission to open up the theater school. So if you have kids and you want to know what's going on with the summer theater school classes situation, we're going to have a real conversation tomorrow about safety measures, the procedures that are going to be in place so that your kids can attend summer camp safely. So that is tomorrow night. And there's a cool plan brewing, I think, some kind of takeover for Thursday. I've heard a rumor that I'm going to be booted off the show, but I'm going to start it and then see what happens. It's been lovely to see you two. Thanks for being here. Say goodbye to everyone, you two.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Stay right there, you
See
two.
us next year.
Yeah, take care.